PBR World Finals in Las Vegas, Nevada, Tyson Fan Zone. Along with me on this Buck and Bull Moments segment, PBR bull rider L.J.Jenkins. L.J., welcome.
Thanks for having me.
And welcome back to Las Vegas. You've been a frequent flyer to Las Vegas. This is your 10th trip to the PBR World Finals.
Yeah, it seems just like yesterday. I was coming here as a rookie, and 10 years later, I'm still going and hope for a few more.
Now, last night you covered your bull in round number one, and you were really bearing down on the bull, LJ. I know you got to stay upbeat the whole season, but is there a little extra adrenaline flowing during the PBR World Finals?
Oh yeah, there's always a little bit more pressure, but then again, there's a lot more dollars to win out here. So you want to come out here, and if you're going to have one good weekend, it's going to be this weekend, you hope.
Now, we're going to talk in a couple of minutes about your past experience in the PRCA, and last night we saw just a great bull rider in J.W. Harris take round number one. And, it's kind of strange because I'm talking to you whether you get the adrenaline flowing, but J.W. said, just another payday for me.
Yeah, you got to look at it, as it's just another rodeo, another bull riding. You got to take one bull at a time. It's a long week, so you can't get too excited about anything, and you just got to take it one bull at a time.
Now, LJ, you were born in, if I'm not mistaken, in Springfield, Missouri. So first I have a question for you about Springfield, Missouri, because I've been there on PBR many times and passed through. Why does Springfield, Missouri have more Chinese restaurants per capita than any other city in the United States? Did you ever notice that?
That's a question I cannot answer. I never put two and two together, I guess.
So how did things get started for you in Springfield?
My dad was, used to rodeo and ride bareback horses and ride bulls, and I got an older brother that he had already got started in it, so it just kind of came natural. I started riding when I was young, probably 4 years old, and since day one, I knew what I wanted to be, and I just moved on from calves to steers to junior bulls. And by the time I was in high school, by the time I was a senior in high school, I'd made the PBR Finals. So it's pretty clear on what my life is going to be like. And
that's true. I'm saying that this is LJ's 10th PBR Final. But how old were you at the first one? You're like
I was 18.
18 years old.
I turned
Absolutely.
18 in July and made the finals in October.
Yeah, so what made you precipitate the move to go from Springfield to first stop along your way, which was New Mexico?
My mom got married, and we relocated out there. It wasn't really in my hands, but it's part of the road that's made me a great bull rider, because I got to go out to Texas and ride a bunch, and I just gotta my whole path, I just kind of got to say, what would have been like if I would have stayed there, if I would have stayed in Texaco. But I'm just happy to be here on my 10th finals, and I've had a good career and pretty excited about it.
But I don't know why you moved out of there, because in the PBR it just rolled off everybody's tongue so well when they said L.J.Jenkins from Texaco, New Mexico. Well, not spelt like the regular Texaco, by the way.
But no, it's pretty easy for anybody out there raising cattle and raising bulls. You go to Texaco, New Mexico, and see dirt in the desert. Go out to Oklahoma, where I'm at now. I got grass, and I can raise a lot more cattle.
So the move to Oklahoma, which is really your dream location now, I guess is indicative of the success and the money you made in the PBR so far to be able to make a move like that.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was probably 2010. I just found the land on the internet. I have no connections there in Porham. Found it on the internet, went and bought it. Stayed out in New Mexico a couple more years, so I started building the house, and now we're out there. Got 600 acres and fixing to maybe rebuild a new house up on the mountain. And I guess I'm there to stay. I'm not going to be going nowhere else. So.
Now, the life of a cowboy obviously goes through phases, and you're pretty well embedded now, just participating in a PBR. But you had that like wanderlust. You were one of these guys that spent a few years. You were in the PBR. I know you were competing for a while in the CBR, but you tried to make the big plunge into the PRCA and made it all the way to the World Finals here in Las Vegas. Why don't you just take us through those few years where you just really had a super busy schedule, and what made you want to do that?
It's a pretty easy question. Any kid growing up and riding bulls, their dream is to ride in the yellow bucking chutes for 10 days out here in Vegas. And it wasn't about the money. You know, obviously if it was about the money, I'd put all my focus on the PBR because that's where the money's at. But it was a dream that I wanted. I wanted to have been to the NFR one time. I took, you know, about a year and a half, and I went hard. And like you said, it was a busy schedule. I don't know if I could ever do it again or if I would want to put my body through that again. But, you know, it paid off, made the NFR, sitting 14th, won the average, had a great year. And that's just something I can hang on the shelf and look back and tell my grandkids about it.
Now, one thing I really respect you for, L.J., and there's a few guys like this that have gone through the PBR, and to me, it's because you're a forward-thinking guy. You're a bull guy, you're a cattle guy, you want to stay in this industry your whole life, but I think in a way you understand that this does not last forever, so you got to keep on looking at what your next move's going to be down the road.
Yeah, every time I win a good paycheck, I look, you know, how can I spend it to help me in the future? How am I not going to waste that money now when I, you know, get 40 years old, look back and say, where did it all go? I got the ranch, got 120 head of cows, got a bunch of bulls coming up, and, you know, I'm not going to be one of them guys that's going to ride bulls until I'm just broke down and can't walk. I'd like to get out of this. You know, I'd probably give me another couple of years of riding, and that's about it. But I want to make sure I got my feet in something else before I just give it up and call it quits.
So in a lot of ways, L.J., I think the direction you're taking is to go on and breed and train bucking bulls and make that the career. I mean, we've seen a number of guys. We've seen Mike White really retire when the time was right for him, and he's gone on to be a successful bucking bull trainer.
Yeah, that's what I've got in mind. That's what I built my whole place around there in Pullman is bucking bulls. I've got a covered arena. I got kids coming out and getting on bulls and helping them out every week. You know, whenever I'm done, and even right now, sometimes people wonder why I'm messing with the bulls right now because they think it gets in the way of my bull riding. But you know, it's what I love, and when I'm at home, everybody asks, you know, what do you do for fun? Well, I go home and I mess with the bulls, and you know, it never gets old to me.
Yeah, you know, a lot of PBR fans, I think, are under the impression that you know, you go out and compete in PBR on a weekend, and then you know, you go home and sleep for the rest of the week. I think a lot of fans don't understand the world beyond PBR and what goes on in the bucking bull industry, and especially what goes on in the ABBI. A lot of folks just aren't that familiar with futurity bulls. And, you know, I think a lot of people I'd see like J.W. Hart, J-Dub, don't realize that going on Saturday, he's got the leading bull going into the ABBI Futurity Championship. So it's more than just being one-dimensional.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of work when it comes to bucking bulls, and even starting off with the young calves. You know, you're not going to put a young bull in there and he's just going to stand perfect and, you know, buck. And, you know, there's a lot of training behind it on getting them bulls settled down. And so whenever you get home off the weekend, you know, I'm there messing with them every day. And, you know, it's something that takes a lot of time. You got to feed them every day. And, you know, if you're not there, you got to find somebody. And, you know, it's a 24/7 job.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you know, as a breeder, I think you have a certain type of perspective a lot of other people don't have, and I think what we've seen probably over the last 10 years or so, and with the type of breeding that you could do now, the different ways you can breed bulls and come up with 5, 6 full brothers to each other in any given year, we're probably right now in the industry getting close to the point of really creating like super bulls.
And that is why I'm glad I'm going to be out in about a year or two. You know, if you look back 10 years, you know, you had the great 5 or 6 bulls, but now you can look and you can see the great 75 head of bulls here at the finals. And that just speaks volumes for the industry and the breeders out there breeding the bulls. You know, they're trying to breed them the ranker they can get, the better. The problem is, you know, we haven't figured out how to breed the guys, you know, to where they can keep up with these bulls. And that, you know, I'd like to see it in another 10 years to see where we're going to be at.
Yeah, you know, on Bucking Bull TV, LJ, we go to a lot of different events. We go to SEBRA events, and you know, I just want to discuss what you're saying now. You could go to a SEBRA event in Pennsylvania and see a really, really strong pen of bulls, and you're seeing cowboys that just aren't capable of riding those kind of bulls. So are we getting to the point where bulls are eventually going to just be too good for what we see in the cowboys coming out today?
I think so. You know, there's going to be them handful of guys that are going to be able to step up and ride them kind of bulls, but you're going to get them guys here at the PBR level. But, you know, you only take about 50 head of bulls to each event, and whenever you get up there around, you know, you're going to have so many bulls, you know, there's not going to be enough room for them.
So, you know, young guys now coming up, a lot of people say young guys are lacking heart, but, you know, I just think if I was a rodeo kind of guy, I don't know if I'd particularly go towards the bull riding end right now. It's ultra competitive and just ultra difficult with all these ranked bulls.
Yeah, like I said, you know, they've been breeding them for years, and they're stepping it up every time. And you know, I got some kids there at the house that try their guts out. You know, it's not the lack of try or nothing. It's just, you know, you got them 16, 17-year-old kids that are not mentally prepared to get on them rank of bulls, and that's what they got to look at, you know, when they're 16, 17. That's what they've got to learn on. And
mental preparedness. I mean, you know, we look at the Brazilians as a group. What do you think makes them so dynamic in their riding style and mental thought towards the sport?
I'd say it's totally different from us. You know, they come from Brazil. They come from usually a pretty rough background. And they're coming here hungry and wanting to win, and they've got a totally different style of riding, and I guess a totally different philosophy on it, you know, with not taking re-rides and stuff like that, but it pays off for them. Usually whenever you see a new one come over, it's time to get worried, because you never know how good them guys can be.
And speaking of the word worried, in one way, we're worried really about the next generation of bull riders, but on the other hand, when we look at the guys that are eligible to become PBR Rookie of the Year this year, we probably have more guys than ever that have a good shot at becoming Rookie of the Year and are showing a lot of talent.
Yeah, I'd say there's probably 4 or 5 guys that are in the top 20 probably.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I mean, that's a positive for our sport. You know, when we talk about these ranked bulls coming up and them younger kids coming up, I heard him say the other day that this is the 21st year anniversary of the PBR Finals. Gage Gay wasn't even born yet. So, I mean, that tells you right there that, you know, we do have hope, and there is a bunch of young kids coming up. It's just if they will fulfill their dreams and go to the PBR side, you know, they've got a lot to look at. You know, they're going to be getting on ranker bulls and if they go somewhere else, but you got to go where the money's at to make a good living.
LJ, let's just take a quick look behind the scenes at a PBR and really the life of any cowboy that rides bulls. It's an individual sport. I mean, it's the same as, I'll call them the wussy sports, like golf and tennis, where you're really competing for yourself. So, you know, I think a lot of folks might think that the life of a cowboy is kind of luxurious, and even on a level at a PBR, I mean, you could see 5, 6 guys piling into a pickup to go to an event every given week and share hotel rooms together. And I think it's just an end to the sport a lot of fans don't realize takes place.
Yeah, you know, it's one of the biggest parts of our sport is the traveling. You know, a lot of people just see the TV side of it, the glamour. You know, we're getting on bulls for a lot of money. But they don't see the 4 o'clock flights and traveling all day to get somewhere. And as soon as you ride, you got to jump in a car and go across, you know, 3 states to the next one. And, you know, to be honest, that's really what kind of drives a lot of guys to retirement, like myself. I love being here and I love riding bulls, but whenever I hear that alarm at 3:30, it does not make me want to go. But as soon as I'm here, I'm good. But, you know, that's probably the hardest part of this sport.
Yeah, absolutely. LJ, if we look towards your future, especially as a bull trainer and cattleman, what are your objectives, say, over the next, say you retire in 3 years, what's your objectives past that?
You know, I'd say just like they are now, is just raise the best bulls I can. I've got some really good partners, you know, and so I strive to find bulls for them. If I can't raise them, I'm not ashamed to go out and buy them for them, you know, and just to get our bull program up as good as it can get. And I still want to be a face here at the PBR, just on the other side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to take J-Dub's job or Justin's job in the future? We'll have that right here on.
I'm not going to go that far. So I want to be a commentator. I just said, you know, on the bull end of it, bring bulls to town. I'm not much of a talker.
You know, we look a couple of nights ago, we inducted Gilbert and Adam Carrillo into the Ring of Honor. Who were some of the guys when you were coming up that you really idolized, that you held in very high esteem?
You know, I'd say, you know, obviously Lane Frost was a big one when I was growing up. But Jim Sharp, Ty Murray, those are the guys that you looked at and you always waited to watch ride. Every time it came on TV, you know, them guys rode perfect. And, you know, it's cool to be able to grow up watching them guys and then still see them around here.
And speaking of cool, what was your feeling like the first time you walked into a PBR locker room and you said, man, look who's in the locker next to me. Look who's getting ready.
Yeah, I still remember that day. I got the call. We had a Challenger event in Tahlequah, Oklahoma on Friday night, and I rode there. And I got the call that night that I made it in Pueblo. So I drove all night and got there. And, you know, I went to a lot of Owen Washburn bull ridings up in New Mexico, so I knew Owen. So it was kind of good just kind of get in with him. And then I met everybody else, you know, and it was a dream come true to me. Now, I didn't stay on very long, and I didn't impress nobody, but, you know, it was still just a great feeling to be there. And, you know, it's been a great career with all the guys. I got to see a lot of the greats, you know, retire during my time, and that's what's pretty neat about it.
Let's just take a look at the life of a stock contractor on the PBR level. That you know, you watch on TV, and again, you know, we're talking about things looking glamorous. You see Chad Berger and you see Jeff Robinson, and you saw the old classic battles between Chad and Tom Teague. And again, that looks like it is not easy to become a PBR stock contractor, and it takes a tremendous business sense. You can't go down the road in any given year with 3 or 4 bulls and look to make a living out of it. So when you look at Chad and you look at Jeff now and the top D&H Cattle Company and the top stock contractors, it really very strategic to be able to fill up a pot with bulls and bring them to events.
It is, you know, that kind of goes back to us talking about how great the bulls are getting. You know, those guys, they've got 15 of the greatest bulls in the world going down the road, and you know, it's taken a lot of time and a lot of hard-earned work for them guys to get a trailer load like that put together. And for a guy to be able to get 3 put together, you know, it's just a little contract. You know, that's saying volumes for them. You know, it's a great industry to be in, but it's a tough one.
So in your future as a stock contractor, LJ, would you like to have a mix of top bulls going to PBR, PRCA, and the young bulls? I don't think a lot of buck and bull fans realize that the biggest earning years for a buck and bull is really as a yearling and a 2-year-old, and then if you go on to compete on the highest level of ABBI in your Derby and Classic years, it's not necessarily making it in the PBR, and bulls earning a lot of money there.
Yeah, most of the money's right there at the ABBI events, or, you know, like you said, the futurities. You know, there's open futurities all over, and that's your best time to get money gathered up for them young bulls. And I'd say that's kind of where I'm going to focus. But just retiring, you know, I'm going to want to keep coming around just to make it easier on myself, just to quit coming to these Built Ford Toughs. And so I'll try to have my foot in the door a little bit with a little bit of everything.
Speaking of retiring, we look at Bushwhacker, who's going to be retiring this weekend with his final trips, owned by the great Julio Moreno. And where do you value Bushwhacker if Julio was going to sell this bull?
I don't know if you could value that bull. You know, he's worth as much as somebody's willing to pay, and that would have to be a lot of money for that bull. He's the all-time greatest bull going, and you know, I hate to see him be retired, but I'm glad because he's on the top of his game. He's not going to go, you know, he's not going to get retired being a long-round bull. He's going to be retired as a top contender for the Bull of the Year. And I'm kind of glad I won't have to get on him after this year.
Yeah, but you know, in the buck and bull industry, a great bull does not necessarily translate into a great producing sire with outstanding genetics. I think one bull that we could look at over the last several years, Chicken on a Chain, has really been a dud as a sire. So, you know, you go out and say spend $1 million buying a Bushwhacker for Julio Moreno, you don't know whether he's going to end up being a real good sire or not.
Yeah, you know, I mean, stock contractors today, they thrive on breeding for the best, and they're going to try any possible way to get the best buck and bull out there. But the fact of the matter is, you know, it's kind of the freak bulls that usually rise to the top, like Mickey Mouse. You know, he's a bull that wasn't supposed to be a buck and bull.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's you can breed for them, but you can't make them buck. So, yeah, it's hard to get your money back.
You know, LJ, you mentioned earlier in the interview that you know, you like to work and try to mentor young cowboys with the type of bulls we're seeing nowadays. How do you keep these young guys psyched and motivated and want to stay in the industry?
You know, I do have quite a few kids that come to the house and get on. I got some, I mean, and they're kids that try their guts out. I try not to put them on too rank and stuff, so I don't want them to quit coming. You know, I see the potential in them. And so they'll come and they'll get on bulls, and as I see them progressing, I put them on better bulls. And I've got some 16-year-old kids there at the house right now that I promise you they will be here.
Yeah, and speaking of mentoring and being a role model for people, and you probably don't want me to discuss this, but you trained the bull last year called JC's Dream.
JJ's Dream.
JJ's Dream, excuse me, that was owned by JC's Dream Team, which is the Mead family out of Thermopolis, Wyoming, and they have a daughter named JC Mead who's autistic. And the bull riding business really brought her out of her shell, and I think she really looks up to you, and you've made a big difference in the type of person that she's become today. Yeah,
you know, thanks to Exclusive Genetics, I got involved with them. I got in partnership with a bull we call JJ's Dream, along with Madison up in Washington. He's been a great little bull, and JC, she's just, anytime, you know, we buck that bull, she don't care if he runs off or she's just so happy to watch her bull go. And you know, that's a good, now me, I want to see the bull buck, you know, and if he don't buck, I kind of get down, and you know, she's there just to lift me up and say he did good. So you know, as long as she's happy and having fun, you know, it's a neat story.
Yeah, last year at the $1 Million Buck and Bull Championship, after that bull buck, JC came over and gave you a big hug and handshake, and I could see you just kind of melting there.
Yeah, you know, I had a lot higher expectations for that bull at the $1 Million event last year, but you know, they always seem to have their worst trip at the worst time, and that's the case with him. But hopefully we'll get him out there, and he's still bucking good to this day. He's been a pretty good 3-year-old for us, and hopefully we see him down the road.
LJ, just to conclude, obviously, you know, you have a great knowledge of all the bulls in the PBR and all the cowboys that are participating. How do you see the rest of the week unfolding? And I know you're 10th. It's just a super long shot, but if we clear our heads and put things in perspective, how do you see the week unfolding for some of these top guys?
You know, I'd say right now, Silvano Alves is going to be tough to beat. He got on a bull last night that we were all talking in the locker room that was going to be pretty hard for a right-handed guy to ride, and he rode him with ease. I think he looks on top of his game right now. You know, I'd like to say, you know, I could sneak up there, but I think it's too far-fetched. I mean, I feel like I'm riding good. There's so many guys that could win this average title. It's going to be who draws the best, and tonight's going to be a big indicator on who's going to move forward with the week. And because our next 2 rounds are draft rounds, so we're going to be picking our next 2 bulls. So if you can get your first 2 bulls rode here, it's going to give you a good shot at it.
Or we could you and I could make a tray of barbecue, bring it into the locker room, and only you doesn't eat any. Rest of the guys don't feel well, and LJ's a walkover to win another PBR World Championship. L.J.Jenkins, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thanks for joining us on the microphones for a little while.
Yeah, thanks for having me.